My name is Alise Curran. I am thrilled to be here as part of the author interview series. I'm an author, I'm an interviewer, I'm a book reviewer, a little library steward. I absolutely love my free little library. And I'm here today to talk with author Gabriella Gizzo. I'm thrilled that she's here. She is the author of Sophie's Special Story, and it is a great book. We love it in our house. So I'm so excited to hear from her today and see what she can share with our audience. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm very happy to be here.
So we're so excited to have you. Can you tell us a little bit of background about yourself and your book?
Yeah, so my book really started from my other passion, which is my career being a speech therapist, and I have always worked with children. And I got the idea for the book when I was in graduate school because I was like, speech therapists, we have very high caseloads. We work with a lot of children. So it would be great if there was one resource that could target many goals. And also a lot of times parents and teachers would come up to me and say, how can I work on language in the home or in the classroom? And I was like, a book handles all of this. So that's kind of how the book got started. And then that's also my background.
So you just told us a little bit about your motivation for writing your book, which is fantastic, so exciting. Can you tell us how the author journey started? So it's one thing to have the idea about the book, which is a great idea. Like, what was your step into being like, I'm going to be an author, I'm going to make this resource?
Yeah, honestly, to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing because this, was my first book. And it's, being an author is obviously so different than being a speech therapist. So I honestly just started doing a lot of research, like just a lot of research online. And then I'm sure other authors, yourself, you have to decide if you want to go the self-publishing route or if you want to do a publishing company. And for me, where I was in my journey, I said, I think I'm going to do a publishing company for my first one because especially with my speech, pathology career just starting out, I needed that support. And it was a one-stop shop where they did all the editing and the illustrations and then the printing. So I would recommend, to other people as well, if you're a first-time author and you want additional support, that publishing companies, they do offer that.
That's fantastic. And that's such a good thing to hear from other authors of like the different varied ways from speech therapy. Like, where did you decide what initially got you interested in speech therapy?
Yeah. So growing up, I am the oldest in my family. I have younger siblings, and I was always around family and friends with younger children as well. And I was always hanging out with the families, babysitting. And I saw a lot of those children receiving speech therapy services. So even as a young child, I was just kind of just naturally exposed to it. So that I pretty much knew since I was a young kid that this is what I wanted to do. And I knew, like, I declared right away in college and that was pretty much it. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's so funny how some people know exactly what they want to
I know.
do from the start.
Usually that's not the case, but yeah.
Yeah. So from a teacher's perspective, having worked with speech therapists for years and years and years, I know how involved that process can be. Tell me a little bit about what it takes to become, a speech therapist and your specific specialties within speech therapy.
Yeah. So overall, in order to become a speech therapist, it's 4 years of undergrad and then 2 years to get your master's, if it's a full-time program, which most of them are. And then after you graduate getting your master's, you do something called a clinical fellowship year, which is 9 months of work under a supervisor. So they monitor your sessions, sign off on all your paperwork. After that, you submit everything to ASHA, American Speech Hearing Association, which is our governing board. And then they officially award you your license and your good to go. Now, when you're in New York State specifically, you also have to get additional certification called the TSSLD, which is the Teacher Speech Students Language Difficulties. And that is an additional certification, again, specifically for New York, when you want to work with school-age children in any New York school. So you have to hold that additional certification. And then every 3 years, you have to do 30 hours of training to maintain your licenses.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Congratulations. It's a big job and it's so
Thank you.
important. And I've seen it work wonders with kids, and I know how important it is. So thank you for doing that challenging work and the
Thank
challenging
you.
work to have gotten there.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It is a lot. And even just, talking about it is a lot, but it's so rewarding. I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Right. Right. And so when you were working with children and realizing like this was something that was a very needed resource, what was your ultimate goal? Was your goal to create something that could work across the spectrum, or was your goal like to target specific sounds? Because I know in Sophie's special story, it's obviously the S sound. And I know, are there other supports built into that as well?
Yeah. So, and that's a great question, because when I was writing this book, I was working with a lot of students that were struggling with the S sound. It's a hard sound. Like there's many children that do struggle with it. And it was around the same time that I got Sophie. And I was like, oh, this is like fun because, S for Sophie, and I can kind of play that up and add some fun adjectives in there. And so there's definitely that component where I wanted to support teachers, parents, other speech therapists working on that S. But then I also wrote the story in a way that it can target other goals, answering WH questions, labeling common objects, sequencing. So there's definitely also that language component as well.
I think that is brilliant to be so layered in it. It's fantastic. I wish that I had it when I was in the classroom. I really do. So I know you have a dog, Sophie, in real life. How is the dog in the story, similar to Sophie? I know she's the main character. Is she, similar in real life? Did you kind of build her up a bit for the book? What is she
Honestly, like? Most of it is pretty true. Like she's the main character in the book and she's the main character at home. Like we know she's the princess and she like runs the show, and the publishing company, they really created her image exactly. I sent them, all the pictures, and they did a great job, capturing, her eyes and her tail and her hair and all the intricacies of her clothes. And then, I mean, in the story, when I'm describing her and how she does the Sophie strut and how she interacts with other people, all that stuff is true. So it pretty much is exactly the truth. Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
And you mentioned when you were working with the publishing company, you sent them pictures. I know authors and illustrators have like an array of working together and collaborating. How collaborative was the process for illustration? And does that publishing company have illustrators in-house that work on their books, or do they contract out?
So they do have them in-house, and the way the process worked was, so after all, like the editing was done and we were going to start the illustration process, they were very good about, keeping me in the loop, and they would do a sample picture and then send it to me and wait for my approval, any feedback. Do you like this? Should we make her bigger? Should we make her smaller? etc. And then they would move on to the next page, but they made sure to keep me very involved.
Which is fantastic, because I know sometimes when you write the words, you hand it off and that's the end of your contribution. But I know how personal books can be, and how important it is for you to feel input in that way. So it's so great to have, a publisher that handled it that way.
100%. Yes.
And do you plan on writing more books? And if so, with that publisher, or what route will you take?
Yeah, I think I definitely want to write more books. I want to write 1 or 2 more in the Sophie series that target other speech goals, and then maybe go off in another direction. And honestly, yeah, I probably would use the same company again because I've had such a great experience. But yeah, I definitely want to do more writing in the future.
That is exciting. So we can look for more Sophie series books coming up.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite part of creating this book? What was your absolute favorite aspect of it from start to finish?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, from the start, when they first accepted my manuscript, I was like so excited because now I'm like, okay, like I've had this idea for a while, but now it's been accepted and like we're implementing the plan. And then in the middle, I guess, process, I was very excited when, they were sending me sketches and images because now you kind of see the story coming to life. And then at the end, I mean, when I first got the book, as you know, like when that first book comes to your house, it's like, oh, it's like really real,
Yes, it's fantastic. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the highlights of that. Have there been difficult parts along the way? What did you find the most difficult from a bookmaking perspective? Because, you are the author and you wrote the words, but you also contributed to helping make the book, physically have a book in your hands, which is fantastic. Was it submitting your manuscripts? Was it getting accepted?
I think the hardest part for me is, I balance the book or, just the book stuff, I'll say, with also, being a full-time speech therapist. So trying to balance those two can be challenging at times because I'll be sending emails to the publishing company and they might not get back to me right away. And then I'll have to send a follow-up. And it's tricky when I work full-time at a school with children that are pretty severely impaired. So obviously when I'm at the school, I'm giving my full attention to them. So that part of it can be challenging, just balancing the two worlds. But other than that, it was really pretty much smooth sailing.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Do you have advice for people who are considering starting on this journey, have an idea for a book, ready to go? What advice might you give them?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think go for it. But I also think really focus and remember like what impact you want to make, like the audience you're writing for, like why you're doing it. Because that's like the most important part, and then when moments are high, you'll have that to focus on. When there's more challenging moments, you can remind yourself of that. But I really think just why are you doing this? That'll keep you grounded and focused.
That's huge and fantastic advice, because I know along the way of the process, there might be some bumps. For my second book, for example, there wasn't as smooth sailing as the first one, which I thought would be the opposite. But when I hit those, I was like, it's important. It's important. I know how good it feels when it's done and when readers are enjoying the book. So keeping that why in mind is really important, and good advice for people who are starting out. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Where can we find your book? Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah.
How can people get your book?
Yes. So my book is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart. It's available in actual hardcover. It's also available in ebook, Kindle. And then my Facebook is Sophie's Special Story. That's just the public page. And my Instagram is @speechsolutions_. And obviously I talk about the book. I talk about speech therapy things. So that's where you could find me.
Very exciting. I look forward to seeing some more stuff from you, and I'm really excited for everything you have to come. Gabriella, thank you so much for joining me today and for all of your insights.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a good time.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.